come back around while I mean, I mean from the front.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. All right. Welcome. My name is Joshua Concepcion. I work with the Lakeland Fire Department. I've been here for 12 years, and I'm taking a speech course, which has asked me to do a persuasive speech, which is to inform you and to give you the opportunity to try something new and to persuade you to do something new rather than your normal habits. My speech this morning is on Be Better, Drink Coffee, an introduction to the benefits of coffee. Have you ever woken up in the morning, the alarm clock's going off, and you go stumble over to it, hit it, and it's sending that annoying sound to you? Well, I know I have. And then you get up and you go get that morning cup of coffee. Well, that right there is a beautiful, wonderful feeling and scent that comes over you once you take that first sip. Well, today I'm going to convince you that coffee is healthy and beneficial, and it's a beneficial addition to your life, to explain to you the best ways to prepare, brew, and store your coffee. And I'm also going to advise you on the best time to be able to partake of this wonderful and beneficial cup of joe. My proposition today is drinking coffee may play in part in reducing the chances of cancer, Alzheimer's, and some more elements like heart failure and stroke. This is a great example before your morning cup of joe, which all frazzle. A lot of people get up and they can't even handle the day as they come about. Well, this is what happens after your morning cup of joe. We become Superman. It enhances your attention, it enhances your abilities. Caffeine and the nutrients that are combined inside of the coffee bean allow you to do all this. Some of the health benefits, like I had mentioned, Alzheimer's, stroke, heart failure, diabetes, Parkinson's, some deteriorating eyesight, and even suicide can be offset by drinking a wonderful cup of Java. It gives you an idea here. 1 cup a day has lowered the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by 7%. 2 of them lower the risk of committing suicide, 2 cups of coffee. 3 cut the risk of gallstones, and 4 cut the risk of stroke. Some of these are the health benefits that can be there. So now that we kind of see some of the long-term benefits of drinking coffee, let's take a look on how to prepare the best cup of Java. You have 3 steps to preparing a great cup of coffee. Number 1 is your grinding. Number 2 is your brewing. Number 3 is your storing it. Coffee grinding has specific amount of space, and the surface area of the coffee allow for the best type of flavor that comes about. Your whole beans are what you start off with, and you have some of these grinders which allow you to grind, whether it's a coarse grind or a finer grind. And then it shows you here as you get to the finer grind, your espresso, your coarse, and then your whole bean. Your medium grind is more for your drip type coffee, which is the majority of what we drink, especially here at the station. Your espresso, which espresso means fast, is a faster coffee, but it also doesn't give you the exact same nutrients that a regular drip coffee does. Some of these will give you an idea of what the different grinds are. This is a dime here in the background. So you have your coarse and then your finer grind. Your French press requires a coarse grind, which is that thicker. It doesn't require as much surface space to be open for the fluid and the liquid of the water to be able to absorb all the nutrients. Your drip style coffee makers are what we normally use. And then your espresso. Now Turkish is a special one which actually has the grinds inside of the coffee. You get the most out of it, but it also is one of the harder to drink because it's thicker. It's almost like syrup. There are different types of coffee makers. Your French press, your drip style, which everyone knows about the drip style. And then you also have your espresso and your Turkish. The next step in having the perfect cup of brew is to actually brew it. The pot needs to be clean of all of your extra coffee that builds up residue throughout using it over and over and over again. What that residue does, it gives it a burnt flavor, a stale flavor. And you also need good, clean tasting water in order to be able to give you the best brew possible. Your temperature varies for the different brew methods. The drip style needs to be between 195 and 205 degrees Fahrenheit. That will give it the most ability, the water, to absorb all the nutrients and stuff that you really want from the coffee bean. Your general rule of thumb is to give 1 to 2 teaspoons per 6 ounces of water. I know here at the station we tend to either put too much or too little of the coffee in it. This will give us an actually good balance of that. Your flavor really makes a difference when you actually balance the amount of grind with the water that you're going to use. Now comes the storage. If you have coffee and it's not stored properly, you really get a stale flavor if it's been there too long. There are 4 main enemies of coffee. Those 4 main enemies are air, moisture, heat, and light. They suggest that you get an airtight container that's opaque, that covers it so you don't get a lot of light into it, and to store it in a cool environment. Sometimes we store it out in the bay or somewhere else where it's warm. That'll sap out what you really want, and what happens, the oils start to evaporate if you leave it in an unopened container or in a non-airtight container. To reap the most benefits from your coffee, Stephen Miller at Neuroscience DC has done a study in the circadian rhythms. This is one of the most important aspects of drinking coffee, in my opinion. Your circadian rhythm is dictated by your hypothalamus in your brain. When we get good sleep, it affects the rest of our day. We have energy, we have the ability to focus and be able to do the things we need to do during the day. When you sleep and you have a good sleep, the average person has something called cortisol that's released into their system. Now, cortisol is a stress hormone. A lot of times cortisol gets a bad rap because it creates stress in your life and everything else. But cortisol also is what wakes you up. This hormone inside your system gives you the peak times that you're available to have the most mental acuity and the best energy levels of your day. There are 3 times, according to this article that was done in Neuroscience DC, there are 3 times a day that your peak, your most time frame to be able to understand, to see things in a clearer light are there. Now, Stephen Miller actually suggests that during those peak times you don't drink coffee because caffeine and the different antibodies and the different things that come from the coffee bean will enhance that, but it also reduces the capabilities of the coffee to give you the most out of it. So he suggests that if you do coffee at least 2 cups a day, 8-ounce cups a day is what they refer to as a cup. If you do it between 9:30 and 11:30 and 1:30 and 4:30, you will get the most benefit out of coffee that you can get. Now, Matt had actually said that the best time of the morning is to take a cup of coffee because it gets everything moving. That is actually another great benefit of coffee, is that it helps your body to actually replenish and to be able to eliminate what has been built up from the day before. That's part of the detoxing process that coffee allows you to do. Okay, in closing, I have given you many of the health benefits that coffee provides just by drinking even 2 cups of coffee a day. Your circadian rhythm is balanced and your energy levels for the day are balanced in doing that. The proper way to make a cup of coffee, by grinding the proper grind, by doing the proper brewing process, and also by storing. And I've also told you how to use it for the most beneficial way. Now this Martha Beck, it's funny how some people live off of coffee, and this is probably one of the most specific ways of saying it. She says, almost all my middle-aged and elderly acquaintances, including me, feel about 25, unless they forget their cup of coffee, in which case they feel 107. Thank you very much. All right. Any questions? You have a review in front of you. If you can go ahead and fill that out. And if you have any questions about coffee, please feel free. I've done some extensive research on it. And Starbucks also provides a really great manual of how to brew and how to see what kind of coffee is best for you. But if you have any questions, please feel free.
I got a question. You know I was late.
Yes, sir.
What's the difference between Arabic and Colombian coffee?
Arabic and Colombian are actually the same thing. Arabica and Robusta. Arabica and Robusta are the two types of main coffees that are out there. Those are the ones that they come from the same species, but Robusta kind of vary in the plant's growing, the genetic makeup. So you only have two types of real coffee, Robusta and Arabica. Arabica is the original coffee. It's been around for 5,000, 6,000 years. From that plant that was originally Arabica, which started in Arabia, surprisingly enough, was taken over to England. And some of the people from France and England, the explorers actually found this plant, and coffee's benefits were really spread at that point. But in the main people the Turks and the people who actually found this plant were very protective of it. They did not want it to get out. So through hundreds of years, they actually kept a monopoly on it. Eventually, someone got some seeds and they planted their own version of it. And that's where Robusta came from. They came from a varied plant that does it. But those are the two main ones. And Starbucks actually, they make a specific claim saying that they only sell Arabica because it's the higher quality flavor and higher quality coffee. Robusta has good flavors, but they're different. They're only like 60% or 70% quality-wise of what the Arabica are. So it's an interesting concept. Great story. How coffee was found is that a goat herder had some goats, and the goats started to eat from these plants, and they got incredibly excited, and they couldn't stop moving around, and the shepherd was like, what's going on here? And he found the plants that they were eating, so he took some of that plant home and found out a way of extracting it, and that's how coffee was formed. And that's how we found coffee, but that was about 5,000 years ago.
So Arabica
Is the original coffee plant that it came from. Any other questions?
The benefits you talk about, is that different between the different coffee beans then?
No. Coffee, the antioxidants and the different benefits, because it's the oils inside of that the water draws out of it, they have the same benefits. I guess the Robusta would be about 60% of what the Arabica. So there is a slight decrease. So yes, I apologize. There is a slight decrease in using the Robusta, but the flavors sometimes make up for it. The Robusta have more of an earthy flavor, like they use a description of it more like mushroom and earthy tones and different flavors that would be more of a subtle flavoring, whereas Arabica are more of a brighter flavor. So the different flavoring of the coffee also kind of dictates what kind of benefits are inside the coffee. And that's where they get, Arabica is the better because they have brighter, more extreme flavors in that.
So we're not getting the same benefit out of that as we are. That's what you're saying, because we're doing Folgers.
Yes, Folgers is actually not Arabica, they do the Robusta, whereas your Starbucks and some of the other ones actually claim that only from Arabica. And then there are some areas where they grow specific crop, and those crop have a specific flavor. So if you go to Starbucks or Barney's or one of those, they say single point location where the coffees come from. They can grow enough at that point to be able to ship it out to the stores. And some of the smaller mom and pop shops actually have that as well, where they take a specific crop, roast it, and send it over here to be able to use it for that type of flavor. But yeah, Robusta is a little bit lesser quality, and that's why the main companies do not accept that. Any other questions?
The Turkish way of brewing, like, how do they do it? I saw the French press and then
The Turkish have a very good way of brewing it. I actually like the Turkish pot, but if you see this pot, what they do is they take the pot, they take the grinds of your coffee, they put the pot on the stove, and they actually boil it with the grinds inside of it. So when you drink this coffee, they don't remove the grinds. It's not a filtering system. The grinds are still there. And it depends on how you like it. You can put a lot of sugar in it. Some people drink it with cream, but it's actually more flavorful without the cream. but the pot, the grinds are still in, so you're drinking the grinds, the coffee grinds. In one sense, that is actually better for you because it's higher concentration, but once the process of brewing goes through the grinds really are more just a, kind of just an extra substance that give it consistency. But it is more of a syrupy type of coffee, which I liked, but it does take a little bit getting used to because of the consistency, you still taste the grinds and you still have them. Yes, sir.
Do they grow coffee in Central America?
Yes, they do.
Do they know?
They do. They have. In fact, Starbucks has a book here, which they have quite a few of these books, and it explains that they have certain areas, and most of the places where coffee is grown is around the equator area. I don't know exactly how many miles, but there's like a certain amount of miles because it needs moisture, warmth, and the equator provides that in the lands that are kind of along that area. So in Central America, well here, let me give you an idea. In Latin America, they dictated on here, Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Peru, Colombia, Puerto Rico, and Brazil are all places where that's kind of a zone that Starbucks claims that they plant theirs. They also have it in Africa and Asia and Pacific. So they have different zones where they get it from. They have one like Sumatra. It actually comes from Sumatra. Java comes from the island of Java. And then they have several ones where they do bring from there over to us. But they do have it in Central America.
The reason I ask that is the best cup of coffee I personally have ever drank was in Nicaragua.
Oh, really?
And it had grounds in it, that's what we're not in.
That might have been a Turkish style.
But I don't, does it say in there what kind comes from Nicaragua?
It does not say what
I
kind.
didn't know, that's why I was asking. I was-
No, they do have, if you go to Starbucks, you can actually find places that, it tells you on the bags. In fact, here, it gives you kind of a breakdown of it. It says roasty and sweet, dark cocoa, well balanced. This one does not specifically state where it comes from. There are some that do though. I don't see one on here.
I was just asking because I didn't.
Yeah, some of them will actually say Sumatra or Java or where they come from. And those are your single point of origin. That's what they call it, single point of origin. Any other questions?
Due to how our circadian rhythm is a bit off because of what we do, will it be the best time for us to drink coffee?
Same time frame, because what happens is that even though we do have an off set, you might sleep through the night or you might not, but your peak time is still going to be around that 9:30 to 10:30. When we get up, now if you wake up at 4 in the morning, it's going to be different. But for the average, most people get up at 7 to 8 o'clock, and that gives about 2 hours or an hour and a half before your peak is at. Another thing that happened with that article in Neuroscience DC by Steve Miller, he said that in the mornings, what also affects your cortisol levels is light, sunlight. So if you're driving to work at 7 in the morning and you put your sunglasses on, you're blocking the ability for your body to react to that. That's actually more effective than even drinking or taking a medication or a drug or one of these benefits. Light has that much of an effect on our bodies. So in the morning when you're driving to work, or even if you're getting off work, leave your sunglasses off for a good 20-30 minutes while you're driving. And then later on you can use it. But that will allow your body to react and wake up even better than even having caffeine. So that's a good question.
It's interesting that the times, peak times that cortisol is feeding times.
And I noticed that. We tend to eat during those times, but I think that really drops our wake-up times as well. Because I know I feel tired after I eat. And that's probably because the cortisol levels are high, we eat, and then that sugar high drops us a little bit lower. So I thought that, this is a great idea. So I've been trying to drink my coffee around 9:30 and then having another cup around, 3:30 or so, just to balance it and see, and it's helped. I haven't had those lows where I would normally get after lunch or,
I drink coffee
well, you're only getting part of it. You get the caffeine portion. Any other questions? Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. There is coffee. I did bring the Verona. This is my favorite brew. And there's also cake, which I'm going to leave with you guys anyways.
Thank you.
Did anyone have any, actually, if someone can just give me a little bit of feedback, I do need to have that on there. It's okay if not. How was it? How did I do?
Oh, it was good, I'm sorry, I missed that, I had to have that email on about 12.
That's okay.
And what time was it?
I get it.
Yeah.
I went a little over for that, so. Any feedback, anyone? I know I said it on a couple times.
Yeah, but it wasn't, I didn't think that you used any kind of filler words, that many times.
Okay.
You said or a couple times, but it wasn't, with certain people giving speeches, you can,
Oh, yeah.
they've got words that they really rely on, but I didn't think you did that. I thought you did good about making eye contact with several different people, and keep moving around the room, and then sitting here watching this on the video really was like, well, yeah, now I really see how often he's doing it. So you did good with that. There was one thing on your survey that spoke about, gave 5 references to researched info. The Steve Miller and
Yes, I neglected
the,
to mention.
Starbucks reference, and then you had your quote at the end, but I didn't hear too many other ones, so that was the only thing that I thought, you totally missed the boat on that was involved in this paper. But other than that, I thought you did pretty good. That's pretty much what I wrote.
Anyone else? All right, well, I
I
think,
love the PowerPoint.
oh,
I'm sorry, I love the PowerPoint. Good job. You did.
Yeah.
thank you.
In the
Hey.
future, it might be a good idea to put your name up on something,
Okay.
presenter or
The,
instructor.
the one slide you had, Josh, that had the coffee cups on there and then the health benefits.
Yeah, it was too tight, too
Um,
much.
well, I thought you kind of glossed over. It seemed to have a lot of information on there, and
I
it
had a
didn't.
time frame. I had
Yeah.
to do it within 9 minutes or 8 to 9 minutes. so-
Yeah, but with the title being "Be Better, Drink Coffee," and I'm assuming we are your audience for this particular speech that you wrote, I would have thought maybe that would have helped tie in why the health benefits would have been a little more, and something you could have elaborated on.
Okay.
Might be a little overcritical on you on that, but
No,
that's just,
That's
I mean, I think that's what you're looking for, so
Absolutely.
that's what I thought you'd give a little more on that, more so than just going off on the size of the grain and everything.
I did too much
That makes
of that
sense.
compared to- Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but,
Influence.
I mean, I thought your delivery was very good, and you didn't do any kind of nervous hand things, so. Probably could have dressed up a little bit better.
Yeah.
Make sure we, shorts.
Yeah, I forgot. I think, Troy, you gave it to me last time. You said I should have shaved, or no, it was Gomer. Gomer said that. They said, well, what could he have done better next time? Well, shave. All right, guys, well, thank you very much. I don't want to keep you any more from your lunch.
All right.
I do appreciate it.